Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. As you can see, today I have a very special guest with me. You might also notice that Tor is not here. Unfortunately, she's not very well, but we decided to carry on anyway because, like I said, we have a guest. Smitty is here with us today, who you might know from BookTok. He is everybody's favorite BookTok fantasy creator, including one of mine. So I'm super excited to chat to him today about all things reading taste, all things book kind of content creation, and lots of other fun stuff. So, welcome to the show.
What is up? So glad to be here. And Toro, hopefully when you see this, you'll say, I'm going to say, hope you feel better. It's a lot of stuff going around here, but I'm super excited to be on here, super excited to make this time for sure.
Perfect. I guess the best place to start for everyone at home who might not know you or perhaps does know you is to learn a little bit more about your book taste, your reading habits, and kind of the books that you like. I personally think of you as a fantasy reader, but I know you do read a little bit of everything. So I suppose my first question for you is, have you always been a reader? And if so, how has your taste evolved?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I'd love to answer this question very particular. Like, have I always been a reader? Yes. Have I always been reading at the same like clip that I've been reading now? And what I mean by that, like I read in the morning for like an hour. And then at nighttime, I try to get a minimum of 2 hours at nighttime. So that's the answer is no, right? Because again, you grow up, you go to high school, you go to college, things like happen in life. So I probably started my reading journey, obviously when everybody starts a reading journey when they're super young, 5 or 6, but it really kicked off for me when I was like 9 or 10 in terms of leisurely reading, like not reading for school, not reading because your parents are reading to you, like leisurely reading. And I think it was a couple of things, right? Like Chronicles of Narnia when that came out, in terms of that, like in terms of that was like provided for us. It came out a long time ago when it was provided for us. But then like when the third Harry Potter book came out, like that was when it really kicked off for me. Like if you've read that book, and again, I was a kid when I read these books, not as an adult, so we'll go from there. But when you read that book for the first time and you get to the part where you get to the ending, and that ending is something you want to capture, like those last like 100 or so pages of that one is magical, and that's what I've been trying to chase for these past few years. And again, I think I found it in some of these books, but that's kind of where I started. And it ebbs and flows, right? You go to middle school, high school, you see friends, all of a sudden your friends saying reading is nerdy, then you kind of go into that, but then you go to college. You need something to do other than partying. So like it ebbs and flows, but I think in 2020 when the pandemic hit, that's when I got back into it. Like that's when I was like, I really love doing this. Like we're not doing anything. We're in the crib. Like I might as well just like, read. And that's when I just started picking back up on the hobby there. And yeah, it's kind of grown to what it is today. And like that's like the favorite part about all this content journey or everything like that. It's like that content's fine and I love it, but like I still am a reader, like by nature. So I'm not gonna be posting every day. I'm not gonna be doing that because like reading is the number one thing that I love to do. So hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people can relate to that, especially having sort of a step away from reading during education. It's so hard
Mhm.
to read for fun when you're reading for studying.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I think a lot of us found it again in the pandemic because we suddenly had so much downtime. I was exactly the same as you, lifelong reader, started with Harry Potter. My dad read me the first four out loud, and then I carried on, went to Lord of the Rings and everything. So, yeah, I think super relatable for a lot of people. And obviously, like I said a second ago, I associate you with fantasy, and I know you talk about fantasy books quite a lot. But is there a genre that you used to avoid and now love, or any genres that you consistently just kind of don't really reach for?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say there's any genre I wouldn't reach for. I think I was always hesitant on like romance and romanticy.
Yeah,
Because again, it's just not my cup of tea. And I'm sure if I come on here and, like come on Book Talk and start talking about all the romance books, I'm sure my follower count will go insane. But like that's not what this is for. Is what I want to read. However, I am interested in romanticy now, just a little bit, because Rachel Gillig has got me on this
yeah.
kick.
I
Yeah.
saw you read Night and the Moth, and I was like, oh,
Oh,
maybe I'm
oh
gonna
my
have to
God.
pick that up because I didn't personally love One Dark Window,
Yeah, yeah,
but I
yeah.
saw your review and I was like, oh, maybe I'm gonna have to pick it up.
Yeah, so good. So like I've only read so I did the Fourth Wing, I did Iron Flame. I didn't really care for Iron Flame. I thought Fourth Wing was decent. I get killed for saying it's pretty good, but again, it's fine. But then I got to Shepherd King duology and really enjoyed that. And I think for me, when I think about romantasy, I like the split where it's more fantasy and like less romance, but still some romance in there. And I think she does a great job of it. So I think that's one that I will continue to, dabble in, where it makes sense. But I really don't try to avoid anything. It's more like for me, it's like it may seem like I'm avoiding it, but it's like I have my list of books that I want to read, and like to kind of like hijack that is going to take a lot.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that actually leads me on perfectly to my next question, which is how do you kind of curate your next reads? Are you a mood reader? Do you have a list that you've personally created in your sort of own time, or do you follow the BookTok hype? How do you select your next read?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I'm a planner by nature, and like I try to plan out what I want to read like for the couple years coming up. So last year I said these are the books that I want to like have on my list here. So again, I want just to get into manga, so I'm reading One Piece right now. Like some of the releases that were coming out, like S.A. Cosby releases. I was the Night in a Moth. Like I had those like planned out in terms of like when I wanted to, or like I wanted to read them. It's a
Yeah,
matter of when. So like I think right now I have a list of maybe 40 or 50 or so books that I want to read this year. And then sometimes every now and then somebody will throw a recommendation into like my comments. They send me a DM and like I'll take a time to look at it and then I'll include it, right? And I'll kind of jump into it from there. So I'm not a mood reader, right? Like if I have my list, I kind of stick to it and like I kind of go with it. And I think some people would find that so weird because like again, like I'm stuck to what I'm reading and I don't really jump on the hype. The Night in a Moth was on my list anyway. Like
yeah,
last year, I said it was on my list, so like it's not a hype thing. Like I actually had it on my list to read
yeah.
this year, and I just missed it by a month because I think it came out last month in May, and I didn't get to read it till June because I had my list and like I wanted to kind of stick to it. So, not a really mood reader, not a really algorithm person. I really have my list and I kind of stick to it. And every now and then somebody will throw a random book in there, and I'll look at it, I'm like, oh, this seems interesting, and I'll read it there.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
I am such a mood reader. It's honestly a curse. I cannot
Okay.
force myself to read something if I'm not in the mood for it, which makes things like arcs very
Yeah.
difficult because
Yeah.
obviously I should be committed to by reading something by a certain date.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, my brain doesn't always work that way. So I wish I could do what you do. I don't find it weird because I do actually plan my reads out at the start of the year. I do like the 25 for 25 sort of thing. Um,
Mhm.
but I'll end up reading like eight of them by the by the end of the
And
year.
that's and that's fun though. That's fun because you get to experience stories that you didn't know you were going to experience. Like I
Yeah,
had a challenge the other day where I wanted to read. I just put a random poll up, and this is why it's so fun to like just do things like this. I put a random poll up, and I was like, "Do you think I could read 3 books in one day?" Because we had all for like Juneteenth holiday, and everybody was saying no. So like that's where I kind of went off the rails and like
yeah.
found 3 books that were shorter books to read in one day. So I do things like that sometimes, but I really have my list, and it's something that I just want to do because at the end of the day, I don't have much time, right? Like I have a full-time job, and I want to make sure the reading that I do, and I've been super fortunate so far, is going to be pleasurable for me, right? Like I try to take risks sometimes, and most times I'm just comfortable with what I love reading.
Yeah. So I kind of got a bit of an ad hoc question for you here, but it leads on
Yeah.
from what you were just saying. And that is, how do you find these books that you're planning in advance then? Because when I think of you, I think of books like Sword of Kaigen. And
Yeah.
obviously that book is huge now. But
Yeah.
when I
Yeah.
first saw you talking about it, I think I'd only, really seen maybe one other person mention
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
how do you find, what your next read is?
Yeah, it's so funny. So I nowadays like I get comments from people, DMs, and like and I still have my trusted people who I do follow, and like if they're like, hey, this is really good to read, like go from there. Like I wasn't the first person to talk about Sword of Kaiken. I just want to make that completely known there. Like I wasn't the first person to talk about it. There's some people I trust who I like kind of look at their recommendations. Reddit has some good like recommendations too every now and then if you like kind of hop on Reddit. So nowadays it's really just comments. People will comment, hey, you should read this, and I'll look at it. But like people will comment that, but I do my research, right? Like I actually look at it and like see like, oh, what is this book about? Like I try to stay away from Goodreads like ratings or anything like that, but I try to see like, oh, what is this book about? And like, does it fit with like something that I would enjoy? So it's kind of how I find my reads now, but I think the majority is like trusted people who like I followed for a little bit there, and like again, like their tastes are my taste, and I kind of hop on it and I'll try it.
Yeah, interesting. I kind of do a mix of a bit of everything. I am actually quite bad for looking at the Goodreads
Oh,
rating
really?
reviews,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
not always a good thing because
Yeah.
obviously a lot of the time when people leave reviews, it's because they have a strong feeling either way, right? They either
Yeah,
really didn't like
yeah,
it, or they really loved it.
yeah,
One thing I need to work on is not following the hype so much. I'm really
yeah,
bad for
yeah,
that. But
yeah.
oh
I mean, it's so the thing is like there's nothing wrong with it because at the end of the day, like who am I to say? Like sometimes I'm the hype, right? Like I'll hype up a book and people kind of do it, and like I would hope like people would enjoy the experience. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I also love finding those obscure books, right? That maybe a person with like 2,000, 3,000, followers just kind of talked about, and like I just hop on that and I kind of see what that's about. So there's nothing wrong with the hype, but also like there's some people out there who have some like books that nobody talks about, and just kind of look at that from there.
yeah, for sure. And so, what would you recommend to a reader who maybe was new to the genres that you like to read?
Yep.
What would be
Yep.
like your perfect go-to recommendation for them?
Yeah, so fantasy, I always lean towards Brandon Sanderson, Mistborn. Because you get the best of both worlds, right? Like the first book is a great intro to fantasy, but also the story continues with book two and book three, right? And a lot of these high fantasy books, like they're multiple books in the series. So I'd always say that. I mean, it's very intriguing in terms of story, and without going to like spoilers, it's like a heist mixed with like what if like the bad guy won, so like what if Baltimore or Gandalf won, and like you have this group of people trying to pull off an incredible heist on this person there. The magical system is super, super simple and intriguing to kind of follow. And for somebody new to fantasy, like it's just easy to pick up. And I think the books are like 400 pages, something like that, which again could be long for somebody, but again, Stormlight is like way, way, way longer than that.
Yeah.
Um, Also for fantasy, like again, I think Rachel Gillig has a great, intro to fantasy because again, if you for example, like if you love romance and like you want to get more into fantasy, like she's more fantasy than romance, and like that's kind of a bridge the gap from there. Um, so yeah, fantasy, I think I would recommend those for fantasy. For sci-fi, like because that's my second favorite genre, like Dark Matter, Recursion by Blake Crouch. Blake Crouch is very easy. I wouldn't say entry level because entry level makes it seem like he doesn't write like expanse books, but it's very easy to kind of get into.
Yeah.
I think Dark Matter and Recursion. Um, and then for like thriller and any book in general, like let's say a reader just wants to be a reader in general, like I always recommend start with thriller because I think thriller is a gateway to everything. And Pete Swanson, The Kind Worth Killing, it's like a movie or a TV show in your head. Like I always recommend that for anybody to say, I just want to get into reading. Where should I start? I never say, oh, just go right into this, right into that. Like I say, Kind Worth Killing, like super, super easy.
Yeah. Well, this is a crime, and I can't believe I'm admitting this, but I still haven't read a single Brandon Sanderson book. And
That's all good.
I've had Mistborn on my shelf for four
Yeah.
years.
Oh wow, wow,
Yeah,
wow.
that's bad. But I just get like such big book fear with it because of how
Yeah,
big the whole universe is.
yeah, yeah,
But I will do it at some point. But
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, carve out a year, not maybe not this year, but carve out a year and just say, you know what, just go through the Cosmere.
yeah, that's a great idea. I might do it next year actually, because I have been wanting to get more into fantasy as a whole anyway, because kind of a bit like you, I've just not been finding romantasy really works for me as much these days. I
Hmm.
think it was great for me to start with, but I've been transitioning what genres I'm into.
Hmm.
Um, but let's talk a little bit about BookTok
Yeah,
specifically.
let's do it.
What made you start posting on there in the first place?
Yeah, so like I said, I've been a reader like on and off since I was like 9. And since that journey, like I probably can count on one hand like the amount of friends who I can talk to about books in person,
Yeah,
right? And again, pandemic happened 2020 and everything like that, and like leading up to, 2023, like I was reading some amazing books, right? And I had nobody to kind of talk to. I mean, like one person, but like nobody to talk to about it. And then one of my friends who was a part of the people who actually I could talk to books about was like, there's this thing called like BookTok where people are like recommending books because I was hitting a low where like I'm like, oh, I kind of want more books to read. Like, where can I find more books? And Reddit was fine, but like, where can I find more books from there? And I just sat scrolling one day and I was like, oh, okay, this book seems fine. This book seems fine. And like some of them were good and then some of them were like, ooh, maybe not. And then I'm like, why don't I like talk about the books that I'm reading? Like, not many people are like actually like reading some of the books that I'm reading right now. And like one day I just sat down there, like sat downstairs because normally I record from my desk up here, but I sat downstairs with like a bottle of wine and like I was just like, all right, let me pour this bottle of wine and start talking about talking about this thriller book. The first book I ever talked about was a thriller book, and I still have the video up. It's super awkward. Like I don't even. I think I'm like blurbering my words. And I think like at the time I had, I don't know, like a couple hundred followers or so, something random. And I think like 2,000 people like saw it. And like, again, I thought that was like the greatest thing in the world. So then I kind of like kept on trying and tinkling with it. And I think the biggest thing that was coming at it was like people were actually talking about the books. So people were actually like, oh yeah, I love that. Or, oh, you should read this, you should read that. And like I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Mm.
Then it's kind of ballooned into whatever it is now. Like I had no intentions of this being the way it is. Like I really, and to this day, like you people will say and people will know, I'm just here to talk about books. Like I'm not here for any ulterior motive. Like I'm here because this is generally my hobby. Like I don't watch TV. Like I generally like read like most of the times of the day. And yeah, starting it has been, I know people say like, oh, like you've changed my life with your book recommendations. Like I don't think they understand just how much like I needed this outlet to like talk about something that again, for me as a black man, it seems kind of nerdy, but at the end of the day, it's like it's what I love.
Yeah, and that completely relates. I mean, we kind of touched on this in our communications, which is one of the
Yeah,
reasons I wanted you on the podcast was you're never involved in drama.
yeah.
I feel like you don't put down any aspect of book talk. You know, you don't, yes, romancy and romance might not be for you, but I never hear you talking kind of
Oh no.
disparagingly about the genre. Um, and you do just talk about books, you know, that's what it is for you. I think anyone watching your videos can see it as your genuine interest and hobby, and it's what makes your videos so engaging, I think. Um, but how do you come up with your video ideas specifically, and how did you first learn what your audience wanted to see from you?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, like I said, the first ever video, and also thank you by the way for those compliments. Like that's really what. Again, I'm all for. I scroll and look at the book talk drama. I try to see it, but I try to stay out of it.
Yeah.
Like it's just not what I'm here for. I'm here to kind of share my passion, and hopefully people can pick up on that passion too as well. So I think what in terms of to answer your question like when I started off, my first ever video was a review, and like that video did super good in my eyes, right at the time. And you know, tinkled around with like let's say like the book adjacent, like the funny like video type stuff, and I'm just not a funny guy. Like it just didn't work out for me. But like what I really enjoyed was like the reviews and the recommendations, and that's like I know that's what works on these platforms because like at the end of the day, TikTok is all about like watch time, Instagram's all about watch time, and my it's funny because like when I started out, people were like, "There's no way people are gonna watch a 3 minute, a 5 minute video on TikTok." But I was like, I don't care. Like it takes me 3 or 5 minutes to talk about these books. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna do it. And again, people stick around for the whole video and they enjoy it. And I think because at the end of the day, it's like I'm actually talking about something I'm talking about. Like I'm not trying to do engagement bait. I'm not trying to do anything like that. And I think that's what my audience enjoys. And that's kind of where I come from, right? And in terms of like how I post and what I come up with for the videos. Like it's every single video you see on my page, you're gonna get something out of it, whether it's a review, whether it's a recommendation. Like you'll scroll and like people will say, "Oh, like did what does Smitty say about this book?" And they'll like kind of go on my page or type it in. So that's what I know works. And how I come up with the ideas is like whatever I'm reading, I'll just do a review on it, right? Or if I say, you know what, like say I'm in the shower one day and I'm like, wait a minute, this sounds insane. Like what if like there's a lot of books that like made me shed some thug tears. Why don't I just do like a compilation of that, right? And like just do a video on that. Or like I have like books where they break my scale. I'm like, why don't I just do like a whole compilation video on that too as well? Like it's really just off the cuff, like off the spur. Like I don't it's really just random. But it's really like whenever I want to do it. Like I don't feel any pressure. Like sometimes I'll post, you know, once a week, sometimes I'll post 3 times a week. But it's no like if I don't post during a week, I'm not like, oh, I need to post. Like it's if I didn't finish a book, I just don't post. Or if I
Yeah.
don't have an idea, I just don't post. So it's really just like spur of the moments and like really when I feel that passion to just like jump on the like camera and do something. Again, I have my normal like TBR videos. I have my normal like wrap ups in terms of like the quarter or the year or like the like half the year. But at the end of the day, it's like I really just do it when like I feel like, you know what, I think people will enjoy this, or I think somebody's gonna get something out of this video. And then I record from there.
Yeah. I think that's probably going to be really reassuring for a lot of kind of
Yeah.
content creators either looking to start or who have already started and
Yeah.
maybe want an account to grow, because I feel like there's a lot of people out there that, you know, have they say that there are hard and fast rules of what you should do with
Yeah.
TikTok, and that is post every day, 3 times a day,
Yeah.
whatever it
Yeah.
may be. And I have also found that actually those kinds of things maybe aren't necessarily what's best for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've changed, my own content type a few times, whether that be I never used to do long form talking videos. Sometimes I do now, but also like for me, what my audience likes best is really short and snappy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's so dependent on you as a person, what your lifestyle is and the type of
Yeah.
content you enjoy making.
Yeah.
So I imagine a lot of people at home will feel reassured to know that you don't post crazy times a day. You
No.
just do what works for you.
Yeah, and like even it's like the posting times, like I don't get caught up in that. Like I posted a night and a moth review. Like I literally finished that book like 2 minutes before I posted that review. It was on a Saturday night at like 9 p.m. Eastern time, which is probably the worst times that you could post a video ever on TikTok, apparently. But I'm like, you know what? Like I really want to post this right now. Like this is literally the time I want to post this because like this review is fresh in my mind. This book is absolutely insane. Let me just post it right now. And then the idea started working, right? Like I normally don't post at nighttime. So if I'm posting this at nighttime, you know this is going to be a good book review.
Yeah.
And the video is doing well right now. A lot of people are enjoying it and going from there. So yeah, and again, there's a difference between posting every day and having consistency.
Yes.
Now, posting every day is more like, oh, you have to do this. But being consistent, like saying like, you know what, I at least want to get a message out there every now and then, right? But when I do get a message out there, like it's on a consistent basis. Like I won't go months without posting, but like I know like I'll be like, oh, maybe I should post something like this week if I have the inkling of it. Like if I'm not even like thinking about it, maybe I should do it. Um, but like just a consistent on a consistent basis, like that's good. But like I wouldn't just saying like, oh, you should post every day. Like that's where burnout occurs. And like I don't want anybody out there to experience it, especially with something that they love really, 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 really much.
Yeah. And that actually, I had this question for later on, but since we were talking
Yeah.
about it, how do you avoid burnout as someone who has
Yeah.
quite a large platform? And obviously, there's a lot of pressure that sometimes comes with things like that.
Yeah, so it's funny. I don't think there's any pressure because at the end of the day, like if I'm not ready to post, I don't post.
Yeah.
Like it's not my full-time job. Like I told somebody the other day, it's like because somebody was like, "Oh, like what do you like? What's your cadence? Like, why do you do this? Blah blah blah." And I'm like, I only post when I love to do it, and like I only post what I love, right? And if I'm not loving the situation right now, if like I'm not doing anything, I don't post.
Mhm.
But I only post what I like, right? And I only do that from there, and that's where like burnout is more like you feel like you have to do it, right? You feel like you're in this rat race and you have to read 100 books a year. You have to like I never get my goal. Like I never reach my goal of reading because like if I like try to push for I think my goal this year is 60 books, there's no way I'm gonna read 60 books this year. Like I may read like 45 or 50, which is still good. But at the end of the day, it's like I probably won't get that because I'm just doing what I like, right? And if what I like is a 1,000 page book, if I like is, longer books, I'm gonna do it, right? And like as much as I know like I should if I posted, every day of every week, I'd probably have a million, followers right now just because like the algorithm is the algorithm. That's cool, but like that's where it turns into a job. And I don't ever want this to turn to a job. Like, yes, do I get, paid for some of this stuff sometimes for sure, but like that's not why I'm doing it. Like I'm doing it because I genuinely love this. And I genuinely hope that people are getting back into reading or are finding, love and passion from, some of my book recommendations. So how I avoid it is that I just do it when I want to do it. I do it when I love to do it. And if I'm not feeling it, if I'm like a sick during a day or like I'm like, oh, the other day, like I recorded a video, I'm like, I'm really just not into this right now. I just deleted the video. And then like I recorded like a couple days later and did fine. So like if I'm not into it, I'm not gonna post.
Yeah. And I think something that people maybe not necessarily don't understand, but forget is that it's so individual as well. So, like,
Yeah.
they might see someone reading 100 books and posting
Yeah.
every day and think
Yeah.
that's what they have to do. Whereas the reality is, like, I do post 6 days a week most of the time.
Yeah.
Like you, if I can't post or I don't want to post, I don't. But
Yeah.
most of the time, I do want to post and I
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
enjoy it. So I post quite often. And I do read. I mean, this year I'm reading a lot less, and like you, that's just because I haven't really been pushing myself. But the previous years, I would always read 100 books minimum.
Nice. Love that.
And that's not because I think I absolutely have to make my content or because I think anyone reading and making content should. It's just because I am such a non-stop person and I love having goals to work towards.
Yeah, love that.
But someone watching me could think, well, she's posting every day and she reads,
Yeah.
16 books a month, so I
Yeah.
must. But that's not the case at all. Like, I'm
Um,
really glad you've said that, in terms of how you've built your account, you've done it with what works for you, what's fun for you,
yeah.
because I think that will make a lot of people at home feel a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny. I saw a video the other day. Somebody was like posting like, I think I forgot the exact words, but it's along the lines of, geez, I have to have like this huge bookshelf behind me to like join BookTok. And like I literally jumped in the comments and I'm like, I have no bookshelf behind me on like every one of my videos. I'm at my desk. And I'm not saying it's by design, but like it's more like I don't want the pressure of somebody who's never read before to see all like, and again, I'm not, there's nothing wrong with having a bookshelf in the background, by the way. There's nothing wrong with having a bookshelf in the background, by the way. My bookshelf is like, it's a bookshelf, a library reader, right? Like I have a certain amount of books on there and like that's it. Like I don't really like buy books like that. But I hopped in her comment saying like there's that's not true because at the end of the day, it's like I think having a platform or video where you come to see me for the first time, I have nothing in my background, but I'm talking about a book. It's like we're in a bar or like we're just walking around and like there's no pressure. Like you're literally just talking about a book, and you don't need 100 books. Like you can use a library, you can do whatever just to like enjoy whatever book you want to read. And I think that pressure too that people kind of feel like that they have like to have the perfect background, everything like that. Like I'm literally at my desk, like with like my background is like just a random background. Like it's again, I think we get caught up in aesthetics more than a message a lot. And I think that's where I lean more into the message. Like, are you getting something out of this video? And like, not like from an aesthetic standpoint, but like, are you actually going to favor this video because you're going to come back and say, oh, what did he say about this book after I read it? Oh, I agree with that, or I disagree with that. And I love both sides.
Yeah, and that is why me and my one of my closest friends in book club have a saying, which is "In Smitty we trust."
That's maybe we trust. That's crazy.
We just send each other your videos, like, well, this is another one for the TBR.
Oh, it's
Um,
crazy. That's so amazing.
but no, I completely agree because actually, like, although I have my bookshelf backdrop right now, when I was at my kind of the time where my account was growing the most, and when I think like 2022 to 23, most of my videos were being filmed in my kitchen, and it was just
Nice.
a plain white background, nothing crazy at all. And they did so well, arguably
Yeah.
better than they do now with a
Yeah.
nice, backdrop, just
Yeah.
because it was obviously content that people engaged with. So yeah, I definitely agree.
By
Um,
the way, nothing wrong with having bookshelves. I hope no,
no,
y'all don't cancel me over this. Nothing wrong with having bookshelves in the background.
no, nothing wrong with bookshelves, but just don't feel the pressure to have
Mm.
a certain look that everybody else has.
Yeah.
Um, but kind of talking about that in general, is there any way at all your reading experience has changed from being on BookTok or being a content creator specifically?
Yeah. I mean, so I would say I try now just because like I've always been like a diverse reader. And what I mean by that, obviously like genre, obviously by author and things like that. But like I always like to bounce around between like series and stuff like that. The only thing I would say, because I'm still the same reader, because again, like if I change my reading habits, then I'm gonna be all over the place and like I wouldn't want to do that. The only thing I do change now is I may not read an entire series all the way through, just
Yeah,
because, like, again, like, while I do what I love and love what I do, sometimes I know that if I'm talking about the same series, video after video after video, I'm gonna miss a few people, right? Because they may not be along there. So I tried more now to like hop between different books. Even sometimes for me, it's painful. Like I have the third book of A Song of Ice and Fire, which is the Game of Thrones series that's on HBO, and I haven't read it yet because like I still want to like hop around different like series to make sure that again, while I love what I'm reading right now, I know like the audience they're gonna want to see the other books that I want to read, and it's gonna like kind of pick up from there. So that's the only thing I changed. I may not read a series all the way through anymore, just because like again, like I don't want to live my content just to like that whole series for like the whole month, and then like again, I'm gonna miss a few people with that. So that's the
yeah,
only thing I would say. But otherwise, like I still read what I read. Like I read a book from like decades ago, like whatever book I want to read that's not like again, not hyped, but like I just started picking it up and like, oh, people it was Animal Farm. People are like, oh, I've read Animal Farm when I was in high school or was in like in middle school. I'm like, I've actually never read it, so I'm gonna read it right now. And I actually thought it was very, very eye-opening to, what's happening in the world right now. So
Yeah, that is a great story. And in terms of kind of, I think you mentioned earlier that, sometimes you do paid content,
yep.
and as a lot of big kind of content creators, whether in BookTok or not,
Yeah.
do. And I wanted to ask you specifically if there's ever a brand deal that you've turned down because you didn't feel it was aligned with you. And the reason I want to ask that to you is because when I see your paid work,
Yep.
I notice that it's always very mindful in the
Yeah.
sense that you've done a lot of things that maybe have a charitable edge to them,
Yep.
or they're with organizations that are doing
Yeah.
really great work. And
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with taking paid work that, is not those things. I do that.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but it was just something that I noticed straight away. Like every bit of paid work you're doing feels very meaningful. And so I just
Mhm.
wondered, is there stuff that you turn down?
Oh, all the time. I turn out stuff all the time. And I'm with like a management company too as well. And I let them know like there's just certain things that I probably don't want to work with or associate my brand with, even if the dollars are top notch. It's just something that I won't. Now, at the end of the day, like yeah, like there's other stuff that I'll do. And like I'm not saying it's against whatever, but it's not the charitable stuff, right? Like I had partnerships like Spotify, I had partnerships like some of these bigger companies there, which I generally love, and I love those partnerships. But at the end of the day, like there was definitely some where I turned down because I'm like, as much as that money sounds amazing, like I don't it first off, it doesn't feel genuine to me. If it doesn't feel genuine to me, it's not gonna feel genuine to my audience there.
Yeah,
All the things that I turn down is a lot of authors reach out to me and they want to pay for a book review, and I don't do that. Right, because at the end of the day, that's going to discredit like what I'm bringing to the table. No matter how much money they're offering, you can scroll through my pages. Like I would never have a paid partnership. This is a 5-star book. Like I'm more like if like in the past it was like, hey, you should read this book because I'm interested in it too as well. I haven't read it yet, but like it sounds intriguing. It sounds interesting. Even for audiobooks, like it sounds interesting, sounds intriguing, but I haven't read it yet. So I'm not going to review it, but this is where the paid partnership comes from, right? Like I'm super interested in it. But I would never like an author can pay me whatever amount of money in the world. Like I wouldn't give a review on it just because like what if I hated it, right? Like I'm gonna just come out and just say, oh, I loved it, and then all of a sudden it's bad. But also like I don't again, if I love a book, I'll talk about it. Like I'll talk about it for free, right? And I don't need to get paid for that. So those are only two things I'd probably say where I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing it.
yeah, makes total sense. And then talking about BookTok as a space in general, obviously you are a man, and
Yeah. Yeah.
BookTok is quite a female dominated space. You've been on BookTok a couple of years. Now
Yeah.
it is more diverse, I would say, or I hope people see it as more diverse.
Yeah.
When I first started in 2020 or 21, it was much
Mhm.
less diverse. What has your experience been like as a man in a space that is so heavily female dominated?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a good question. And I mean, I first and foremost, I'm just so happy that I've been welcomed into this space, right? Like I'm just super happy about that. Um, I mean, look, like it's just by the numbers, more women read than men. And like that's just, the nature of everything. Um, it's been a good experience though, because I don't, I don't use my content to appease to women, right?
Mm,
And I think that's where not all,
yeah,
I think that's where some of our, like my fellow, male creators, they kind of get themselves into trouble because they only read the books that all like the girlies are reading, right? And like that's where they kind of get into, like I don't, right? Like I read what I want to read and like I stay in my lane and sometimes staying in my lane can bring some of those women audiences over to me who may have been interested in like, a Brandon Sanderson or some sci-fi or things like that.
yeah,
So it's been great just because like I talk about what I want to talk about, right? I don't do this to appease to anybody, like even men, women, I don't do it to appease anybody. I do it because I generally like just share what I like love. And if people love that, then people love it. Um, but it's been great. And like I said, I don't do the drama stuff either. Like I'm not hopping on anything like that. I mean, I may be scrolling and like seeing it and like liking certain things, but No, it's been great. Like again, like I don't have any like ulterior motives when it comes to this. Like besides the fact that I want more people to read, like that's probably my ulterior motive. Like if I'm the reason why you've read like more books than you ever read in your entire life, then I'll take that as an ulterior motive every time. Like you know what I mean? So, but yeah, no, it's been fun. But also I've gotten some great recommendations from women on this app too as well. Like the Sword of Kaigen recommendation came from a woman on this app. Like so. Yeah, it's been fun for me for sure.
Yeah. And following on from that, not to kind of, there's no right or wrong answer with this.
Yep.
I'm just interested to know because one of the reasons we started this podcast was to talk about books, yes, but also like female empowerment.
Yeah.
And so to follow on, do you feel you've ever been treated differently as a man in the space, whether it be negatively or positively?
Um, you know, That's a good question. I don't think I've been treated differently at all, I would say, in terms of maybe the algorithm has treated me a little differently, which again, you got to acknowledge that. Like, I think there have been some great women who've been working super hard on their accounts for longer than I have. And again, the algorithm has, springboarded my account to whatever it is now. So I think that's the only thing I would say. I think just from a general audience, like, I don't think I've been treated any different, both positively or negatively, right? Like at the end of the day, or also maybe I'm not just looking out for that stuff.
Yeah.
But I probably should. But I think from a at least positive standpoint, is just that from different male like newer BookTokers, like they are creating accounts because of me, right? Like they see my videos and the only reason I'm saying it because like they reach out to me and tell me that, right? And I think positively that's like the positive way I get treated differently. But other than that, I hope I don't get treated any differently. Besides, obviously the algorithm.
Yeah. Well, I can say kind of from an outside perspective, I also feel like you're specifically not treated differently. And I do think that's because of what you said about how you do your content. You're not
Yeah,
trying to appeal to women specifically or men specifically. You're just making good book recommendations, and
yeah,
that is why everyone has treated you the same.
yeah.
Um, but what kind of change, or if you even think there needs to be any change, would you like to see in terms of book talk, whether that be its diversity or any other change of the group as a whole?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing, while I do love the drama sometimes, um, I just want more people just to talk about like review more stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like that's why I hopped on, BookTok just to get like actual like reviews and recommendations. And I still get that, don't get me wrong. I do think a lot of times we need to get back to like that, as well as having the other stuff too. Like I love the other stuff, right? And I love the fact that we as, book creators are probably the most, aware people in terms of what's going on in the world. And like I really want us to keep doing that. But I also want, again, I want more, I want more book recommendations. So like I want to hear more of that too as well. I mean, I think also like there's a lot of people who lurk on the app, right? And who lurk in the book reviews. They're always doing it. Like I hope they join. Like I hope they join in the fun and I hope they post and I hope they go from there. So that's probably the two things that I think would change. Again, I don't mind the messiness because I still have, an hour a day I dedicate to like scrolling, but yeah, just more book reviews.
Yeah, totally agree. Me and Tor, we actually did a podcast episode a few weeks ago that was kind of like about the drama, but not really contributing to the drama because we were like, guys, can we all calm down? Can we just
Yeah.
get back to
Yeah.
books?
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. I mean, there's a time and place, but like sometimes I'm like, oh, I like need like my next read for like a couple months from now. I need to find it. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
yeah, I think it depends as well what the drama is about. You know, some of the conversations people are having are so valid and so thought provoking.
Yeah, no, yes, yes, for sure.
Some are just kind of messy for the sake of messy, and you're just a bit like, okay,
Yeah,
maybe we move
yeah,
on from those types of
yeah,
conversations.
for
But
sure.
to round up our kind of more informative and kind of deep content creation chat, I've got a couple of last questions for you.
Sure. Yeah.
What is a mistake you feel you've made at any point in your content creation journey that you've learned from?
Yeah. So I think early on, and I don't think anybody will kind of see it there. I think early on, I overthought a lot of stuff,
Mm.
right? Like, and I still think I overthink things too now. Like maybe not as much as I did like when I was just started out.
Yeah.
I say that when what I mean by that is like I will have an idea and I would sit on it for like way too long. And
Mm,
once I'm like, oh, I'm ready to do it, I just lost like all momentum and like it's not there. So like now I'm like, if I have an idea, like it's either that day or that day I'm writing down like my thoughts from it, like in terms of, oh, I should talk about this, should talk about that, and then I like make sure I set some time like the next day to record it. When I first started off, like I was like, oh, this sounds like a great idea. This sounds like a great idea. And then I won't get to it till weeks later. And then like all like the inspiration and the momentum is gone there. Right. So that was probably the earliest like mistakes that I've made. And again, like it's fine to like think things through, but
mm,
also like think it through to a certain point and just like go with it. Like just go with it. And now like I think my videos, if you look at my videos way back when and you look at my videos now, it's like I think it's total difference because like I think back then like I can see myself like hear myself like overthinking or like trying to like sound a certain way. Now it's like, oh, I have this idea, I'm just going with it. Like I'll just go with it. Like I'll just put this here, I'll just say this here. I don't do scripts, so like I just like kind of go off the cuff. Which kind of again I don't recommend, but I do recommend because like it sometimes I just jumble my words and I have to keep going like recording. But like overthinking like really killed a lot of the ideas that I had early on. And it was just I think the start of was it no, the middle of last year or the end of last year, I'm like, I'm gonna stop overthinking and just like do it. And like whatever book I'm reading, just like do it. So yeah, that was like my biggest mistakes. And I think a lot of people do that now too as well. Just overthink and like think that has to be perfect or like think like I still do it now, but like I don't do it at the same level I was doing it before. And I think that's what got me not in trouble, but like that's what got me like not posting or not enjoying posting as much as I'm enjoying it now. Because again, I don't overthink it. If I want to do it, I'll just do it. If it's not perfect, it's not perfect. If the video gets 10,000, 20,000 views and like it's fine, like who cares anymore about views? You know what I mean? Like as long as people like getting something out of it.
100% agree. That is definitely a mistake I also make continuously. Or talk about this all the time. We're both so guilty of overthinking. And in fact, last year, I noticed that just because the space was a lot more saturated in people talking about books, which is not a bad thing at all, always
Yeah.
more people joining, but because more people were joining, content seemed to change. It almost became
Yeah.
like a trend of people filming and editing a certain way. And I definitely fell into that trap of like changing my content. And
Mm,
then this year, I did exactly the same as you. I stopped overthinking. I went back to doing what I enjoy, what
yeah.
I've always done before BookTok was as big, and since BookTok has been as big. And I just have so much more fun with it now. And like you say, really, the views are just a number.
Yeah.
And I've made so many personal friendships and connections from the app that could mean more to me ever than,
Yeah.
a view count. So
100%. 100%.
completely agree. And then my last serious question for you is how do you balance content creation with anything you have going on outside of life? And you did touch on this earlier when you said, obviously, if you don't feel like doing it, you don't. But do you have any other sort of specific tips of how you find the time, or whether that may be that you schedule content and you use apps, or, whatever that may be?
Yeah, so I do have a full-time job that like it's like very demanding. It's like from 8 to like 9. Like I work a lot.
Yeah.
However, like there are times throughout the day where like I would like I think I have like a 2 to 3 slot where I would just have 2 to 3 every single day. I just block off, right? So that's like my lunch. I generally don't eat lunch like that, or I do a working lunch. But from 2 to 3 is like a time where I can either record or I can think about like maybe what I want to record for like the next day or whatever like that. And I time block that, right? So like most times I will record like sometime during that 2 to 3 lunch spot, and then I'll post like a little bit later during the day. After that, like if unless it's a special case like on a Saturday night, like where I just have inspiration, I generally try not to do any content creation after 5, right? Like that's like my thing there. I could have all the time in the world after 5. I could be on vacation. I try not to do any content creation after 5 because again, I've already worked a full-time, job. And then like just to come like be super exhausted and then like to try to record a video of a book where it may not be at top of my mind again, it just feels like not, but like in the middle of the day, like I get more energy. You can feel that from me. So that's where I time block that. But I don't use apps. Like it's literally like me just putting my phone on the thing. I'm like, you know what? Let me just start talking about this book. Or let me start talking about these books. Um, and then the burnout is just that, like I mentioned before, like if I'm not into it, I'm not doing it, right? Because at the end of the day, like reading is generally what I love to do. Once it starts feeling like a job, once I start feeling like, oof, I'm not feeling this anymore, that's where I'm gonna have to like back away and like not do anything. Because if I lose that as a hobby, like I don't know, like when am I start watching TV again? Like I don't like like there's nothing good on TV like that. And some things are good, but like yeah, like if I'm not feeling it, if I'm not into it, if it's just like feeling like a job to me, I don't do it. Like I back away, or I'll like delete TikTok for a little bit just because like again, like I don't want to like be forced to do anything. Um, but I also like again to combat burnout, I sometimes, say, you know what, let me like cut into my hour reading at nighttime and just doom scroll.
Yeah.
Just doom scroll. Let me just see what's happening on like my For You page. I generally stay off my For You page. I normally say my friends and my following, but let me just go on my For You page and allow myself to do that, right? And not feel like I have to like be on all the time. It's funny, like I hop in like random like comments of like videos have nothing to do with books, and people are like, Smitty, what are you doing here? I'm like, I'm avoiding burnout. I want to like be a part of this too as well. Like it's actually a
Yeah.
funny. So yeah, like if I don't feel like doing it, I don't do it. Like I don't stress over any of this. Even if this was like a full-time job, which that's not my goal. Um I still would be the same way. Like if it's not inspiration and I'm losing a couple bucks because I didn't post, then I'd rather that than have my lose my audience because they can feel that I need to post this today.
Yeah. And lose your love for a hobby that, has brought
Yeah.
you so much throughout your life. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Okay, so we on this podcast, we like to end on like a bit of a game, a bit of
Okay.
a more, silly little fun outro. So
All right,
I'm
let's do
hoping
it.
that you have prepared two truths and a lie
Okay.
for myself and the listeners at home to guess. So
Okay.
I'm going to guess which one it is, and then you can reveal if I'm right or not.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I've never read Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
I do not batch record,
Hmm.
and I played football in college.
Well, I feel like I know that you don't batch record from this
See?
conversation.
That was easy.
I think the lie is that you played football in college.
Boom.
Yes.
I played basketball in college.
Ah, okay. Yeah, because I was like, I don't remember you hit like talking about Lord of the Rings on your page.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to read. That is a high fantasy I've read. I have in my special
Yeah, I
edition.
see it. I see it back there. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to read those. They're so good. Okay. And then another little one. I have prepared a game of bookish smash or pass.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a few little different bookish scenarios, and
Yeah.
you're going to let me know if you would smash or pass them. Simple as.
Good.
First one, reading on Kindle, smash or pass.
Um, Not smashing right now. Not smashing right now, but maybe later.
Okay, fair. I only read on Kindle pretty much, which I know
Okay.
sounds crazy because I have all these, but these are like my children. You look, but you don't touch.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So I've always been a physical reader, and like that's like my comfort of turning pages. Only reason I say I'm not smashing right now because you just never know. Like I travel so much now, and I find it sometimes like I travel with library books. I'm like, oh, like I'm like throwing these books around. It's in my bag. Like so again, I may smash one day. You never know.
Yeah. Okay, second one, annotating books.
Pass.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a library kid, so like you can't really annotate, and even with my personal books, like I just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah, true. Makes sense. Dog earing pages, a controversial one.
I smash my own, but I pass others.
Okay. Because
I
again,
like library books, yeah, but my own, like, oh, I'm smashing every single time. Like it's so easy and so easy to lose a bookmark in a book, like, and like again, especially if you're reading at like 3 a.m. and all of a sudden you have to figure out where you were. I'm also the type where I don't finish a chapter before I'm stopped reading. If I'm done, I will finish on that page and I'm just done reading. So like that's where the dog earing comes into play instead of like the bookmark. So I'll smash my own, but I'll pass on others.
That's like an absolute pass for me. I would
Yeah.
rather, not to be dramatic, but I'd rather die than dog ear a book. And I'm the same as you. I don't stop, at the end of the chapter. I'll finish like mid-sentence even.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes I do that too. Sometimes I do that
Yeah.
too.
But I don't use anything, a bookmark, a receipt, nothing. I just kind of remember where I am if I'm reading for
That's what you do?
yeah, I know. It's kind
Oh,
of
that's
psycho, isn't
crazy.
it?
Oh, that's crazy. That's nuts.
I
That's
know. I
nuts.
don't know how I actually do it,
That's
but
that's kind of dope. That's kind of dope.
um DNFing books if you're not enjoying.
Smash.
Yeah.
Smash. Yeah. I haven't DNF many books these past few years, but there were a couple hype books that I have read, and I DNF'd it. I got killed for it, but like I
Did you?
DNF'd.
Yeah, I think life's too short, isn't it, to just waste time on a book
Yeah.
you're not enjoying.
Yeah, I'll do it. I've been fortunate now, but last year it was two major ones, and I was like, no, I don't care what y'all say. I can't keep going with this. And it doesn't matter what page. I think one of them was like at page 200, and one of them was at like page 512 of 712.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a ruthless DNFer, and
Yeah,
it's not even always just because I think the book is bad. It's just because
yeah,
I know my own taste so well at this
yeah,
point. I can foresee that yes, I might enjoy it by the end, but if it's not going to be a 4 or 5 star, what's the point in
yeah,
continuing?
yeah.
So yeah, I sometimes DNF like 50 pages in, which once I did a review saying I DNF 50 pages in, and people were like, "No, that's so early. You can't do that." And now I
Ooh,
understand.
but there's another thing with this. So I believe that you can do a review and say you DNF'd it at this page, but you can't rate a book
Yeah,
that you DNF. So I haven't rated those books that I DNF because like I didn't finish the book.
yeah,
I think you can review it up to that point. Say I got up to this far, blah blah blah. This is what I felt, blah 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 blah. But to actually rate a book that you didn't finish, I think I did a video like my bookish hot takes. I don't think people can do that. I think people do it all the time, and I'm like, that's not fair. You do
yeah.
it. That's I mean again, no chastising, but I'm like,
But
oh
but it happens very rarely.
yeah.
And usually, if I've DNF'd a book and given it a low rating, it's not
Mhm.
that I didn't enjoy the story, it's that I found it problematic.
Oh, okay, okay,
There's content in it that I think, whether that
yeah,
be, I don't know, racist, transphobic, whatever it may
yeah,
be, then I
yeah,
will edit it lowly. If I just didn't enjoy it, I
yeah.
would still give it a 3 star,
Okay,
which I
okay.
think is fair.
Okay.
I
I
understand.
don't, I don't, I don't, I don't rate it. Again, if I DNF it, because who knows that last 200 pages, last 400 pages could have been the best written literature of all time, and
But
that's
does
what
that
kind of
count
broke
if
it.
80% of it is not great?
Yeah, it could be not great either, and like it could have been a 0 star, but like I wouldn't know until I got to the end. And that's the hill I die on when it comes
Yeah,
to DNFing books.
very fair. And that is actually very honorable and such a nice thing to do for the authors. Okay, last one, which I feel like I know your answer, but just for the sake of it, books over 600 pages.
So people would think it's an instant smash, which again, I'd probably say yes,
Mm.
smash. However, it has to be like I can't just read 600 pages from anybody,
Mm.
right? Like I have to actually trust this author, trust the process, trust like like this book that I'm gonna read. Um, because like I can't just say smash every over 600 page book. I just don't have the time for
Yeah.
that. But yeah, like recently, like the past few years, I've been smashing for sure, even double that.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know what I think about this one, to be honest.
Yeah,
Because, like,
yeah,
there's loads of books that are chunky and I've
yeah,
loved them, absolutely loved them.
yeah,
But then I also kind of think, well, could it have just been separated into more
yeah, yeah.
books?
Cody's got to the story even quicker than that. Yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah,
I don't really have a strong opinion on that one. I think
yeah.
it's just a good story is a good story, regardless of the page count at the
For
end.
sure, for sure, for sure. That's why I said I would have to trust the author. I'd have to trust like the fact that I know this story is something I'd be interested in. But I'm not just picking up 600 page, 800 page, 1,000 page books from anybody. Like that's I have a few on my shelf that I'm like, yeah, there's no way I'm reading that 1,000 page book. Like I don't even know who this is. Like I'm not doing that.
It's the exact reason that I've still never picked up Priory of the Orange Tree.
That's one. That's the one. I mean, no offense to whoever the author is, but like
Yeah,
I just looked at him like I don't know. I don't know.
yeah, nothing wrong with her as an author, as far
Right.
as I'm aware. Nothing wrong with the
Yeah.
book, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
But I just look at it and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's a bit.
Maybe I do research and pick it up, but like I was just like, oh, this is a chunky one, really chunky. But it might be good. You never know.
Yeah, it might be a 6 star. Who knows?
Might be.
Yeah, but that is everything I had to ask you
Oh,
today.
nice. That flew by.
Thank you so much for joining us. I had such a good time interviewing. I think people will find, the content creation section really, really helpful. And I feel like it was a really positive experience just to hear someone say that reading is the most important part and to just have fun with it. So, yeah, thanks so much for joining us. Do you want to tell
Yeah.
the listeners where they can find you if by some miracle they don't already follow?
Nah, it's all good. Smitty 1423. You could type it into IG, TikTok, YouTube. That's where you find from there. But obviously, definitely listen to this podcast after this one because it's a very, very dope podcast. So yeah, if you want to find me, cool. If not, that's cool too.
You should find him, guys, if you are watching this, because he's one of my favorite content creators, as you've probably been able to tell, and great book recommendations. But that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget, you can find us on YouTube and Spotify, and we are also on TikTok and Instagram. Everywhere is Girls Unplugged. So we will see you next time for another episode.
Happy reading.